Okay. Let me welcome all of us to this evening session. Today we will be discussing on post-clearance audit. So attendees of this session can expect to gain valuable and actionable takeaways that will significantly benefit their understanding of PCA within the context of the incoming promotion exams. So as we look forward to your promotion exams on the 17th of October, we encourage all of you to make the most opportunity out of these, I think, brief lectures we are having. So I think today we'll be having Superintendent of Customs, TD Adeniyi, that will be sharing his insights on PCA that will be practical and targeted especially for the exams. So his approach will be very brief and will only involve items that he thinks that are of significance to the forthcoming exams. So SC Adeniyi is a seasoned professional when it comes to customs. He has been trained both outside and inside Nigeria. I believe that his extensive service within the PCA in customs and valuation and the valuation units has given him the requisite experience to at least impart a good understanding of this course. So SC Adeniyi, I think you can have the mic and start. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, CSC Dumar, for this, according to one of our boss, rare privilege to partake in this in this lecture. And as we all know, good evening, colleagues and friends. As we all know, the timetable for the exam is out, so everybody has to be on their toes and prepared for the exam and exceed the expectation of the service. So please, tonight we'll just be talking about post-clearance audit, and it's going to be focused only on what is related to the exam, like likely things we expect to see when it comes to post-clearance audit. So first, I don't need to go through the introduction of post-clearance audit. Basically, PCA, which is post-clearance audit, it's designed for trade facilitation. That is what it's designed for, trade facilitation. Let me just use a practical term of PCA or the trade facilitation. A case where a resolution does not take place when it comes to dispute resolution on maybe value or classification. No, such goods will be exited or be allowed to exit the port pending dispute resolution, probably maybe from PCA. Such document will be referred to post-clearance audit and will work to.
Your network is very bad.
My network?
Goni, we can hear him perfectly well over here. You can go ahead. We can hear you. I can hear you well. Go ahead, Adeniyi.
Okay, so as I was saying, can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you fine without any interruption.
All right,
so
thank you. So In the case of trying to bring about a resolution to classification, opinion, or valuation, so that is why trade facilitation is required, and PCA will take over whatever dispute needs to be resolved. So going straight to the definition of PCA, what we just need to establish. We should all try to know that, okay, PCA is an audit-based customs control subsequent to the release of cargo from customs control for the sole purpose of trade facilitation and enforcing compliance with customs requirements. And the Reverse Kyoto Convention defined it as a structured examination of business-relevant commercial systems, sales contracts, financial and non-financial records, and so on and so forth. So please, we should try to understand the basic definition. It's just purposely structured examination for audits of businesses, of importers, and enforcing compliance when it comes to customs requirements. So next thing we need to understand also is the objectives of PCA. Please note, number one, what is post-clearance audit? That's the definition. Number two, the objectives of PCA. We should said something earlier about valuation and classification. So the objectives that brings about post-clearance audit is to verify the value, the of goods, is make sure that the amount of revenue legally due has been identified and collected. That is the essence. We go into the system, we audit, we ascertain if values and origins and classification are properly used and utilized, so that there will not be any form of loss of revenue. We also make sure, as a post-clearance audit officer, that goods liable to specific imports and export controls are properly declared, including prohibition and restriction. That is why in post-clearance audit, we bring everything that is relating to customs together to work in post-clearance audit. For example, we have courses on valuation, we have courses on rules of origin, we have courses on classification, we have courses on bonds. And when it comes to classification, we have department on tariff, who talks about which deals with physical policies, implementation of physical policies and the like. So PCA will bring all these documents together to work effectively as a post-clearance audit. Check all these documents, bonds, classification of goods, like on and on and on. So to ensure goods liable to specific import and export controls are properly declared. We also check procedure codes. Are these procedure codes actually utilized, properly utilized? Are these people actually using these documents properly? I mean, the procedure codes properly. We also ensure conditions relating to specific approvals and authorizations. For example, we ascertain if the importer is a bona fide assembler, if the quota that is being allocated to an importer, if it is not exceeded. And on, like for example, from ends, we checked if they are overused or underused. Have they expired? Is there any upward review on Form N? Then also the last one, to facilitate international trade, that is movement of trade and compliant traders. Now the compliant traders come to the fast track beneficiaries, which actually in Nigeria, we have a lot of people that are benefiting, and the fast track covers 3 commodities. And the 3 commodities are the raw materials, the machineries, and the spare parts for machineries. And these items are people who benefit it are manufacturers in Nigeria, bona fide manufacturers and assemblers. So that is why fast track deals with people who don't need to have any form of examination conducted at the port. Rather, the examination is conducted at the owner's premises, so that goods can get to their warehouse or their or their factory for production. So that is where we have fast track beneficiary. We need to check if they're actually bona fide. Are they actually using the items being imported for the purpose at which they are imported for? So please, after the objectives, we should also consider knowing where can PCA be found in the reverse Kyoto Convention. Question can just come up. The Kyoto Convention document relating to PCA can be found in which chapter of the Kyoto Convention? It is generally the general annex of chapter 6. So we should please try to understand all those basic things, which the 6.6 standard, which states that customs control system shall include audit-based control. So next, I'll moving forward because of time. Benefits, or we should also consider the benefits of PCA. The benefits of PCA, one, it's compliant trader is facilitated at the point of customs clearance and border control can be reduced. Now, compliant trader are these fast track beneficiaries, which instead of going through all the selectivity lane, we talk about the red. When the guy Brian was talking about selectivity, talk about the red, the orange, the yellow, and eventually the green lane. Instead of going through all those channels, they go straight to the blue lane. That is one of the selectivity lane. And the blue lane allows them to take the goods directly to the warehouse, and which officers will be allocated for examination of such commodity at the owner's premises. So it also enables customs to gain better information on and understanding of trader business. Now, we are not only limited to system audits, like we going into the system, looking at declaration, establishing classification and origins of goods and the likes. We also help the trader to gain better information by telling them this is the proper way of documentation when we have to audit the importer at his own premises. We give them more information on how to do business, on how to document when it relates to customs. Also, we also have to consider risk levels can be more easily assessed and reviewed. The premises visit provides the opportunity to identify risks and weaknesses in trader system. When we visit the premises, we try to establish, okay, what are the risks and what are the weaknesses of traders? Are they doing the proper thing? We also have to identify, we also facilitate client education, long-term and comprehensive compliance management focus. In warehouse roaders PCA Zone A, we once in a while we try to invite fast track beneficiaries for meetings so we can educate them more on how to go about doing business and how to enjoy the fast track, the benefits involved under the fast track, how to enjoy it. So we conduct, we try to educate them in doing business with customs. Customs administration resources are more effectively deployed. Customs can promote the concept of voluntary compliance and self-assessment, and so on and so forth. So please, we should try to understand the benefits of PCA. PCA actually is not the time frame at which I'm trying to cover PCA here is very little, very, very little. If you go to the WCO clicks, you realize that it will require you 20 hours to cover PCA properly. Nothing less than 20 hours to cover PCA properly. But because of the time frame, because of things we need to engage with, we just have to brush up on post-clearance audit. Just the main things under post-clearance audit. Post-clearance audit involves two sections, which is volume 1 and volume 2. Volume 1 deals with both the importer, that is the people involved in trading, and the customs. So please, we should try to go through all these little informations. Now we should also know the times of the focused audit, we also have the post-importation transaction-based audit. So please, we should try to know the 3 types of audits that we have in post-clearance audit. The number 1, the comprehensive audit, actually talks about the visits to the business premises. And this kind of audit takes place at the premises of the auditee, that is the field audit. The amount of information to be examined by the auditors is potentially large, although it depends on frequent audits. Because by the time you try, like for example, you want to audit a company that is that imports polyethylene. For example, let me just use an importer. The volume of importation they do in Nigeria is very large. To audit such a company, you need time, you need necessary resources to audit such company. So one of the types of audit is comprehensive audit, which gives you, by the time you visit the premises, you have to get enough information from the importer to be able to audit them properly. No, each transaction for Fast Agro, for example, has a particular Form M. You hardly see them having one Form M for multiple transactions. Maybe one transaction for one Form M. You'll be seeing them having more than one container in an entry. So it's a very big organization that needs a comprehensive audit. So you need to visit their premises for such audit. We have a focused audit, which talks about that one. It can be done in the office, whereby you have to go to the system, you have to establish classification issues, valuation, rules of origins, and country of origin. For example, in our system, you realize that on the SGD, you see the country of origin to be China. But when you go to the bill of lading, you will actually see China, or okay, maybe the exporter on the bill of lading, you see Guangzhou. But when you check the point of loading, place of loading, you realize that this item is not actually coming from Asia, but it's coming from Europe. So such documentation, you see that they've tampered with some information on the system. The only place you can actually be able to detect such is the place of loading of the consignment, and not the exporter. The exporter company might be in the US, but where the item is being loaded from is in Europe. But the declarant or the importer will declare on the SGD, and the exporter has China. So those informations are so vital when it comes to focused audit. Then we have post-importation transaction-based. This talks about like information from, for example, CPC could not detect the information fast, or maybe the information got to them late, and exit has already, the item, the consignment has already been routed to green lane. So for best, how am I going to put this now? For best interference, like such consignments, such consignments will be referred to PCA for further action. So such consignment from CPC, from valuation, if action can have not been taken, has not been done on such consignment will be referred to post-clearance audit. This is where post-importation transaction-based audit takes place. Also, for example, information from all other stakeholders, like maybe NDLEA, SON, and the likes. Also, we use such information to audit. That is why it's called post-importation transaction-based audit. Please note, it is 3 types of audits: comprehensive, we have the focused, and we have the post-importation transaction-based audit. So please, we also have to know the legal backing when it comes to post-clearance audit. In SEMA, we have the information for that. But now that we are using Nigerian Customs Service Act 2023, the section that covers PCA is section 36 through 40. And when it comes to the penalty on any falsification or whatsoever, you look at section 241 and Section 242. So we should try to know the section that is backing post-clearance audit. So let me move on. So who are the people that you need to target when it comes to auditing? All business involved in imports and or export of goods, or in the receipt, storage, manufacturing, and delivery of goods subject to customs control may be audited. Everything that concerns importation can be audited. Let me give you an instance. We know about the free trade zone. We know that when you're taking items into the free trade zone, you don't pay any duty, and which comes in as S number. But when you take them into the free trade zone, and maybe they use such items to manufacture other things, like maybe the case of granite oil, the case of cornflakes and the likes. So the importer will have to convert such an item, bring such an item, into customs territory, that is into Nigeria. Such item will have to pay duty when it's coming to Nigeria. We realize that some of them, they don't declare the proper thing. And in there's a law in the free trade zone. Whatever rate of duty you use in bringing in a raw material for production, it might not be necessarily a raw material. It might be a semi-finished good. Whatever rate of duty is used in bringing an item into the free trade zone, when you are converting such an item to custom use, that is the same rate of duty that you have to pay when converting such item into the bringing such item into customs territory. So we try to look at what you are bringing into. We consider the quantity you took into the free trade zone and the quantity you are bringing out. So we have to check all these documents. People you have to audit the importers, the declarant, the consignee, the quantity, and on and on. The means of transportation, those are the things that we have to audit when it comes to PCA, and the who to target when it comes to auditing. Then what are the obligations of post-clearance audit officers? Yeah, listed here we have the right to access auditees' premises, the right to examine business records, business trading system, and commercial data relevant to customs declaration, the right to inspect auditees' premises, the right to uplift and retain documents and business records, and the right to inspect and take samples of goods. We have all these rights but before you have all the rights and before you can utilize this, you must write the company to inform them that you would like to come and visit the premises or their business premises. You want to audit what's the transaction, their business records. But we realize that it's even when you visit such premises, you don't keep accurate records. But I'm just trying to establish that we have the right to do all, to inspect audited premises, to take samples, and on and on. So if you go through the section note of Chapter 36, Section 36 and Section 37, you'll find all the information that gives you the right to go through the authority to visit the auditee's premises and take samples and the likes. So also the obligation, the right of the auditee. The right of the auditee, the auditee has a right to appeal, the right to an explanation when it concerns determination of customs value, even the classification. The auditee has the right to know why you are classifying this item. Give them a better explanation on what really happened. The right to clearance of goods at the frontier with provision of security. As a fast-track beneficiary, when you are moving your consignment from the port to the beneficiary's premises, that is the fast-track beneficiary, they have the rights which the Nigerian Customs Service gave them, the right to request for an escort. Presently, we have maybe an escort to more than 10 containers at the port. So each what do you call it? How am I going to put this now? 10 containers is allocated to each one escort to be conveyed to the beneficiary. That is the fast track beneficiary. So they have the right to the provision of security of their cargo when it involves moving their cargo from the port to the owner's premises. And they have the right to amend declaration without penalty in the appropriate circumstances. This one you see under section 241 subsection 5 of the NCS Act. When they come to you willingly as a post-clearance audit, that they realize that there's an error in their documentation, please can you make necessary adjustments? Such declaration does not warrant penalty. For example, somebody who brings in, because we have a lot of raw materials in the fast track scheme, polypropylene, but declares polypropylene copolymer. Polypropylene copolymer is a chapter 3901, 5% no levy. But what he actually imported is pure polypropylene, which is just a polymer. Such person will require an adjustment in the declaration to pay additional 5% levy. So they can, if they willingly come to you as a post-clearance audit officer, you give them the opportunity to pay the proper duty without any form of penalty. Now, we've looked at the legal and the operational framework. We've also looked at the who to target when it comes to auditing. We've also looked at the obligation of PCA officer, obligation of the audit team. Now let's look at the organization structure of PCA. I'll read in the manual here. It says, PCA has an interface with many other areas with the customs department, which includes risk management, intelligence sharing, enforcement, debt revenue collection, and legal support. In this case here, I said earlier when we talk about this, what we look at when it comes to PCA, we look at many areas in Nigerian in customs as a whole. When it comes to information, we've talked about valuation, we talked about classification, we talked about origin. Now we also looked into risk management because it is the key to post-clearance audit. The key, risk management. Oga Ibrahim spoke well on risk management some few days ago. So it is the key when it comes to post-clearance audit because it's not everybody you can actually, you can't really cover every area when it comes to post-clearance audit. You must know the kind of risk management to use when it comes to audit. The intelligence sharing, that's why we have the customs intelligence unit involved in fast track and some of the jobs that is done in post-clearance audit. When it comes to intelligence unit, gives us intelligence that, okay, look into this declaration, establish something, maybe if there's an infraction, and also they also go with post-clearance audit officers to the owner's premises for examination, so we can harmonize and establish a fact about a declaration. So please, when it comes to organization structure, risk management is vital, intelligence sharing is vital, enforcement is vital when it comes to the interface with other customs departments. Now, when it comes to types of organization structures, we have the centralized audit and the decentralized audit. The centralized audit, this structure has established a single PCA unit within the administration. The advantage of centralized audit includes enhanced communication, coordination, and sharing of knowledge, better supervision and management. This decentralized audit, it's more used in an organization or in a country whereby you have a limited space of work when it comes to post-clearance audit. Maybe a small country whereby you only have a few places that is used has a port in the country. That's when you can see a centralized audit point. But when it comes to Nigeria, function has a decentralized audit unit, whereby we have the post clearance audit unit at the headquarters in Abuja. We also have post clearance audit unit at each zone in Nigeria. We have PCA Zone A, PCA Zone B, PCA Zone C, and PCA Zone D. Then after which we also have PCAs in all commands. In not all commands, I beg your pardon, in all ports and airports and at the land borders. We have in Lagos, we have in Apapa, Tinkan, PTM, KLT. We have in the free trade zone, we have in Onne, we have in Area 1, we have in Kano, Jigawa, and so on and so forth. So Nigeria operates a decentralized audit system. Now, if you look at the advantage, easy to locate and contact importer and exporter. When we are writing to the importer and exporter on invitation, to honor invitation, it is easy to have access to an importer rather than we being in the headquarters and writing to the importer. It will be very difficult to reach the importer or the exporter wherever they are. And the cost and time effective. When we write to importers or a declarant, we give them 7 days ultimatum to honor such letter. But assuming we all are in headquarters, it might take 1 month or 14 days or 14 days thereabouts before such invitation can be honored. And it will cost us a lot, like dispatch, the cost of bringing a letter from Abuja down to Lagos or from Abuja to Borno, and so on and so forth. Auditors of different regions can compete to perform better because we always challenge. The truth is, PCA in Nigeria, we always challenge each other. When PCA Papa is working, we try to make sure that PCA Tinker is also trying to. When PCA, sorry, I discovered that a lot of people are not hearing me very well. So please, I will be audible because I'm actually trying to be audible here. As I was saying, the advantage of decentralized audit is it's cost effective, it's time effective. Auditors of different regions can compete to perform better. Knowledge is improved in specific trade sectors. Local risk factors are considered more effectively. Disadvantages are it's actually difficult to coordinate with other units. You know, we have that problem in Nigeria presently. Lack of effective communication with each regional PCA unit, which may lead to high administrative costs due to recruitment of additional auditors, managers, and cost of training. Now, we will now go into the risk segment of post-clearance audit. Please let me recap again. We've looked into PCA, the objective of PCA, where you can find PCA in the reverse Kyoto Convention, the benefits of PCA, the types of PCA we have. The legal and operation framework, who to target when we are auditing, obligation of PCA officers, obligation of the auditee. Then we've also looked at the organization structure, the types of organization structure. So please, now we are going into the segmentation of traders. When it comes to risk management, this involves voluntary compliance framework, which includes the method of traders, clients, trader segmentation to approach the different categories of traders. Conceptually, traders can be divided into 4 broad categories. Number 1, which is type 1, is traders are voluntarily compliant. Such traders are always found in the fast-track beneficiaries. Traders try to be compliant, but do not necessarily always succeed. Those are the type 2. Type 3, traders will avoid complying if possible. Those are the type 3. Type 4, traders deliberately do not comply. Those are the 4 segmentation of traders in PCA. Please, we should try to know the 4 segmentation of traders in PCA. Traders are voluntary compliant, that is 1. Type 2, traders try to be compliant but do not necessarily always succeed. Type 2. Type 3, traders will avoid complying if possible. And type 4, traders deliberately do not comply. So there's a pyramid here. How do you handle such situation? Now, let's come from type 1. People who willingly choose to do the right thing will make they make easy to comply. That is, will make things easy for them to they make things easy for themselves. So we try not to. Okay, I think I hope I'm audible enough, please. SD, please, can you hear me well?
We can hear you well.
Okay, you are doing well.
All right. Thank you. So people who are willing to do the right thing, the categories are in the green lane. Like we don't actually, as a post-clearance officer, they are of low risk. And people would try to, but do not always succeed doing the right thing. We try to assist them in doing the right thing. Such people are corporate organization, even normal importer of a finished product, but they don't know how to classify their items. So they come over and ask us, please, what this particular item is being imported. I'm trying to import this particular item. What is the proper HS code to use for such items? We put them through so that they can actually apply for their Form M and do the necessary documentation when it comes to the importation. Now, number 3, people who don't want to comply. That is deterred by detection. Like we know them a lot, we see them in the system. You know, such declarations are falsified. Somebody that states that, for example, from January till date, the only thing he has been importing is balancing machine. Such person is a suspect. And when he's declaring balancing machine, you realize that the packages is 950 something packages of a weight of 27 tons. The same balancing machine from January to December, that is suspicious. Those kind of people, they don't want to comply. Then the 4th one are people who decide not to comply at all. We use the full force of the law. Example of wrong declaration of type 3 and 4 are of the same category actually, but we looked at, okay, the method at which declaration is being made between type 4 and type 3. Like maybe prohibited items being imported by type 4 person, or absolute prohibition by trade and absolute prohibition. So that's how we categorize the level of compliance and how to manage them. Please, sorry, I have to explain some and I have to leave some. So segmentation of trader, let me skip this particular one. When we go through the document, we'll see how we go through the segmentation of trader continued, like the explanation of type 1 through type 4. Risk management, the techniques when it comes to risk management, we have the strategic and tactical when it comes to PCA. WCA Risk Management Compendium defines risk management as coordinated activity undertaken by administration to direct and control risks. When adopted as a management philosophy, it enables customs to carry out its key responsibilities effectively and organize and deploy its resources in a manner which improves overall performance and facilitates trade. So in PCA, we have the strategic and the tactical risk management. Strategic risk management is based on customs being able to identify the overall risks posed by an entire sector or a group of importers. By identifying such a group, a custom administration will be able to target all the selected companies within an industry sector identified as high risk. An industry sector may be classified as a high risk for various reasons. Now you can see the category of the types of traders. So high risk sectors can be categorized for these various reasons. The strategic importance of the industry to the national interest. How important is this industry to the national interest? The international trade agreement, which governs the industry, public health and safety condition, how the industry affects the health and the safety of Nigeria, the intellectual property rights, like fake consignment. Somebody, for example, let me use Fuhani. Fuhani is an importer of LG products. Then you realize that you have some other importers that will go to China and produce or request for another a product that is having LG brand on them. So intellectual property rights is the infringement of intellectual property rights is on this particular kind of example, and economic and environmental impacts of the imports and exports. Then the tactical risk management, which involves the process of identifying groups of high-risk transactions by a particular importer or exporter. Consideration when identifying these groups includes the values of the item, the volume, the type of good being imported or exported, the previous irregularities that is being found when we've profiled them before. If it's a first-time importer, what are they trying to import into the country? Other factors which could increase the level of risk in any of the above-mentioned types of risk assessment are referral information from other customs units, any other government agency, including taxation authorities, risks of revenue laws, government program priority, or specific intelligence, risks of trade-based money laundering. Now, the case of money laundering, I have actually experienced one before. That it was in Onne. A container of 1 by 40. The container was said to contain mosquito nets for an organization. Now, the total FOB that was declared on such consignment was more than $500,000, or more than $500,000 was declared on 1 by 40 of mosquito net, which pays only zero, which does not pay any duty, 0%, no levy. And when you calculate, you realize that it's only CISS, ETLS that is paid on such declaration, which brings the duty as low as possible without any detection whatsoever. You know, when you are profiling in the CPC or a system audit, you look at, okay, what is the duty rate paid on this consignment? Maybe somebody paid 2 million on 1 by 40, and you look at it, you'll be like, oh, probably as at then, that was 2015. You realize that, okay, this value is it's average for mosquito net, but not considering the value that is actually declared, $500,000 for 1 by 40 of mosquito net. It was when I printed the document, I tried to go through the documentation, we invited them over. That was when we realized that this is a capital, what they call it, money laundering method out of Nigeria. So that is how you use a tactical risk management in detecting fraud. Oga Ibrahim discussed the charts about risk management. Now, when it comes to PCA, there's a method that is well used. And I would like to mention that particular method in this our discussion, and which is, number one, when it comes to PCA, we develop audit program, which is our strategic planning. Audit program, identifying potential audit targets, selection of economic operator for audit and preparing of audits all falls under strategic planning. Please, I will repeat myself. When it comes to audit, we develop audit program, which is establishing the context. We identify the potential audit targets. We select economic operator for audit. We also prepare for audit. Probably maybe the preparation of audit going to the owner's premises. That means before you go for auditing of your owner's premises, you must have prepared a well-structured information when it comes to visiting owner's premises. When you're preparing for audits, that is visiting owner's premises, you must facts before visiting. Know the kind of questions you need to ask. Know what you are going there for, not just visiting for visiting sake. Get your facts properly before you visit the owner's premises. So these 4 categories: developing audits, identify potential audits, select economic operators, and preparing for audits, falls under the strategic planning. Then furthermore, we now conduct the audit, that is visiting the premises or inviting the importer over. That is when we are conducting that, making necessary inquiry. Then after establishing the audit, by conducting the audit, we now close if there's any need to close or issue demand notice. We issue and we evaluate and we follow up. This is where the risk management is involved, establishing the context, the risk assessment, that is risk identification, risk analysis. Is there any consequence, likelihood? Then we evaluate risk evaluation and prioritization. Now, each level of establishing the context, you always record your information, you always communicate, and you consult. Communication with the importer or the exporter, that is getting facts from the exporter when you are profiling. You keep record of what you profiled, of information you've gathered. Also, at the same time, you monitor maybe letters for the importer to honor. You always monitor and review whatever you do every step of the way. The risk assessment, you make record, you communicate, you consult, you also monitor and you review. Risk identification under the risk assessment, the same thing. Which then, how do you treat it? You issue demand notice. Is the importer correct in their documentation? Are they okay? What kind of treatment are given when PCA is done? Please, let's just go ahead. So every explanation is already established here. So please, we can read through because of time. Everything is already explained here. So we moved on to risk intelligence. Please, when it comes to PCA and risk and intelligence, a risk and intelligence team may serve the whole customs department. The team's role will normally include the following: identifying and manage and cultivate information resources, contributes to the identification and measurement of risk, communicate with operational colleagues, enabling them to take effective and appropriate action in timely manner, review intelligence data by obtaining feedbacks, reviewing targets at regular intervals accordingly. Now, this is the flow chart outlining a recommended cycle for planning a system-based audit program. So we start to plan audits. I've explained this over and over, so we just go through them at our own time. Assessment. You know, there are a lot of, because of the volume of importation that we have in Nigeria, not all declaration really warrants profiling. So you know the kind of risks you need. Is it you realize that we have some declaration that low risks and some that are medium risks and some that are high risks. So we concentrate more on the high and the medium risks in post-clearance audit. Improving compliance via self-assessment. Post-clearance audit activities helps operators develop the culture of compliance with customs requirements through self-assessment. By the time you profile a person, they are found wanting, you raise the demand notice. Okay, I'll try better. By the time you find a person, an importer who is found wanting in its declaration, and demand notice is issued, and the DN with penalties is being paid, such person, we have to assess his or her transaction, his or her importation, and make necessary adjustments in doing the proper thing as an importer. Customs administration should provide the benefit of compliance to the operators through advice via any possible means of ease of communication. A lot of importers comes around for information. We give them, we guide them in doing the proper thing. PCA is not limited to you must find infraction and you must raise the demand notice. We try as much as possible to guide importers on the necessary thing so that they can put their organization together. PCA audits importers, but they don't have anything to do when it comes to with our internal audit. We help them to audit their system, to audit their organization, so that they can harmonize and put things structurally well with their organization. Operators should also be given the opportunity to request for amendment of customs declaration without penalty when an error occurs. I've said this earlier. If the importer comes willingly, try to correct them and try to make necessary adjustments when needed. So we'll look into the compliance level and how to go about it. What is the degree, maximum non-compliance person? What is the necessary action to be taken? You realize that PCA, it's just about risk management, nothing much, but know how to take the necessary action. Is it a high risk? A heavy custodial financial penalty should be involved. Investigation should take place, and if possible, prosecution. Serious non-compliance, sanctions, revocation of license, like revocation of declarant. If it's found wanting, high level of intervention should take place from the headquarters downward. That is, if there's an instruction from HQ that this person should be sanctioned, or the license of the person should be sanctioned. So from the command level to the headquarters, we will have to write our report from the command level to the headquarters. And if the person is careless, like negligence, now under negligence and fraud, that one will be can be found under Volume 2 of PCA. That's another work on its own. If there's negligence in transactional processing, counseling, low level of intervention, you try to correct them when necessary. And compliant trader, such as the fast-track beneficiaries, your accommodative systems and facilities, periodic processing, just try to check periodically how their transactions are going. Are they doing the proper thing? Favor treatment, partnership, we try to educate them. Recently, we had a meeting with them, fast-track beneficiaries, which we talked about Fast Track 2.0. Actually, it has not been implemented. It's still on. I will try to get the website for Fast Track 2.0. There's a website for Fast Track 2.0. Maybe I'll try to get that one, and I'll post it on the group. But if you want to do that on your own, you can go to custom.gov.ng. That is our website. And you see the information concerning Fast Track 2.0 there. I'm trying to see the link. Okay, yes, I've found the Fast Track 2.0 link. So please, I'll forward it, and we can go through the platform. That Fast Track 2.0 actually involves all importers. You know, this fast track that we are operating in post-clearance audit is limited to three types of importation, which is the raw material, the machineries, and the spare for machineries. Again, raw materials, the machineries, and spares for machineries. But presently, by the time we move into Fast Track 2.0, all declarations whatsoever that is being imported can enjoy Fast Track. There are conditions in Fast Track 2.0. Number one, you must be a compliant trader. You must have a tax clearance like 3 years and above. You must also be importing more than 100 containers per annum, and so on and so forth. So before you can enjoy Fast Track 2.0, you must be a compliant trader. There will be an audit whereby they will check your transaction for the past 3-4 years and see if you have been complying, and you can now be pushed into Fast Track 2.0. Fast Track 2.0 covers all transactions, finished good, raw material, semi-finished good, and so on. Luxury items can be imported through Fast Track 2.0. So far, you are a compliant trader. You've imported more than 100 containers per annum, and tax clearance also involved. So please, we should just go through this documentation, and I hope it will help us. Then we should look at the ethical standards of auditors, our integrity, our confidentiality, and the NCX Act actually states something about confidentiality. I think I was reading it some days ago. I can't remember the section. Like auditors must be able to maintain adequate level of confidentiality when assessing and examining auditors' records. Auditors should not disclose any business customs information they have acquired during performance of their duty, unless national law provides for disclosure of such information. There's a law that is in one of the sections, I can't remember, in the NCS Act. Please, you should go and check. Professional competence, due care and diligence, equity and partiality. Not that you want one importer, you know that these two importers are importing the same thing, because maybe he's your in-law, you favor one against the other. Please, we should, as a PCA, as an auditor, we should try to avoid such. But Nigerian factor will always play. Then limitations, which is like the conclusion of PCA, we should also learn the limitations. Lack of proper intelligence report, lack of effective verification of trader premises, lack of supporting books, records characterized by poor or non-existent accounting system of operators, inaccessibility to importers' record, and so on and so forth. I can just put this, like for example, when we try to audit, I call them personally a Chere Cambia declaration. That is this about traders. This finished goods that is being imported. When you try to visit the premises, you realize that they don't have a store, they don't have an office. So it is very difficult to audit such a person or visit such a person's premises. And some of them, even though when you visit, they don't have proper record keeping. And sometimes many of them lie. But Nigerian factors actually affect this thing. Please, I think I will stop at this point, but we should try. I will share another document on PCA Volume 2, which will help us to know what actually relates to PCA directly. Volume 1 talks about PCA and the importer. Volume 2 talks more of an auditor, that is the post-clearance officer. So please, it's a large document, so we should just try and go through it. And I hope and I believe that we'll perform well when we see any questions relating to post-clearance audit. Thank you very much. SD, please, you can take over.
Thank you very much, SC Adeniyi, for this wonderful presentation. So I would like on behalf of all the admins and the audience, thank you for this short and insightful session we had with you. So I think the points were brief and to the point. So we have also understood that PCA is a way for customs to check that traders are following the rules after their goods have been released from customs. We also understood that PCA is important because it helps to ensure traders are paying the correct amount of duties and taxes. So I think your points were well made, and we will benefit greatly with them in our day-to-day job, and especially those who are preparing, who are facing the upcoming exams. When we wish them well, I will invite the admin, the audience, those who have questions or contributions should just raise their hand or put them down in the group. Thank you. Please, if anybody raise his hand, please, the admin should help just unmute them. Yes.
Please, I have a question, but the network is. Hello, I have a question, but the network is quite poor from my place. I don't know if I am audible enough.
We can hear you. We can equally write the questions in the group so that he can go through them and maybe less.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Thank you. We will equally share the recordings with you, I think, in a short while. Immediately the session ends, we will share it in less than 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, I think Echeta wants to talk. Let me unmute Echeta. Bridget, Tangalu is our guy. Okay. Governor, if you can talk, you can go ahead. I can hear you. Engineer Sam. Okay. I hope I am saying this name correctly. Is it Chinelo?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
David, in respect to the free trade zone processes that you mentioned earlier, you know, since I was in PCA, we have this kind of argument with the importers and the free trade zone operators about this issue of bringing in raw materials or semi-finished products, producing them in the free trade zone when they are bringing it into Nigeria.